Conversation, 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 conversation. Life's journey. Hey, conversation, 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 conversation. Let's talk about it.
Hello, everyone. It's Conversations with Muji, and I'm your regular host, Mujisola Isaacs. And today we have another special guest, someone that will be talking to us on his experiences in life. Incidentally, I have someone, I mean, I don't have anyone from this set right now. I've not had anyone from this set. I'm having someone from the 95 set. Even though he didn't finish in command, but at least he was in command for some years. So, welcome, Dan.
Thank
I'll
you.
allow you to introduce yourself to us, what you do, where you live, and the house you were in command.
Sure. So Dan Abdul. I live in Minnesota in the U.S. Like you said, I was in the 95 set of command, and I was in Scorpion House. And now, for the last 20 years, I've been in technology. That's what I studied in school. So I'm the chief technology officer for a health insurance company called Medica.
Okay. So, can you tell us your academic background? How did you arrive at where you are?
Yeah. So I obviously went to command. I didn't finish in command. I finished up in international school, Lagos. Then that was when I moved over to the U.S. After that, and I went to University of Minnesota and I studied computer science. And interestingly enough, I always say I just sort of stumbled on computer science, but I just found that it was something that I really enjoyed and liked. After that, I got a master's in software engineering, and then went back and got my master's in business administration because I really wanted to understand the business side of things. And then ever since then, just been working in my field and gone through a number of different organizations.
Wow. Okay. So, you left Nigeria just shortly after you left school, after you left ISL,
Correct.
International School. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you got into Minnesota and then you went to school there and you've been there all this while?
Yes, I've been in Minnesota all this while. As cold as it is, I always threaten that I'm going to leave uh, Minnesota, but I haven't brought myself to be able to do it.
But it's so cold. I wonder how you guys live there. But well, that's another story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, okay, so can you tell me a little bit about your professional, work journey? Because I know you've made it seem so easy, but just tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So, I think when I graduated from college, the technology field was still very hot, and I really was more of what you think about as a traditional technologist. I wrote computer code, right? So, most people think that's really boring and stuff, but it was good background experience of really getting technical. And when I came out, I was working for Target Corporation. So, in the retail industry, helping them develop their, web and store technologies. And that was when I realized, at that point, I did both my um, bachelor's in computer science and my master's in software engineering. And then I realized that in a lot of fields, but technology being one of them, if you're strictly technical, you don't really seem to go far. And so I wanted to have the business and financial background. So I went back and got my MBA. And I think from there, I started, progressing, went into technology project management, and then eventually into managing teams within technology. Um, so just started with a small 4 or 5 person team and just progressed on. I think one of the things I always did was I always challenged myself to take on more challenging tasks. And so that
Wow, because so now where I think I got to where you were at Target. So from Target, you started up something with a few people.
No, I said, oh, I'm sorry. My dog is
Your
busy.
dog.
A Target, but I started managing teams. So I had a 4 or 5 person team. Um,
Okay.
and then I went on to a company called Kroll, Kroll, the corporate risk firm.
Oh,
And then I got a larger team that I was managing, and more of a global team. So that was really my first experience managing a global team. Did a lot of traveling, but doing technical implementations across multiple countries. So things were starting to get really complex. But as I said, one of the things I was just challenging myself on was to take on things that made me a little bit uncomfortable. Right,
okay.
was the way I just always did things. So from there, I then got. I'd spent many years at Kroll, went up the chain there, and then they were in the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. They were looking for a chief information officer. Luckily, I was connected with the people doing the hiring, and the next thing I knew, I was leading my own technology department. Um, and then that was really my entry into more of the healthcare space. From there, I went on to a health insurance company called UCare. Um, so led their technology division also as their chief information officer. When I left UCare, I went to United Health Group, which is a Fortune 10 company. So back into the major multinational leading technology teams across the globe. And then recently, I just took my role actually in the middle of the pandemic back in July of 2020. Took the current role as Chief Technology Officer at Medica.
Wow, that's very interesting. I'm thinking in my head, how are you able to manage globally? I mean, you said you had to do a lot of traveling.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
was that for you? Or how was that?
yeah. I mean, it's definitely challenging. It's a skill set you learn, but one of the things that I've learned is you have to have good leaders that you hire and put in the different countries because you're not going to be there 24/7. But you also have to build a team camaraderie with the different teams wherever they are, right? So find that you find that you spend a lot of time on the road traveling, meeting with the teams. But I think a big part of it is just setting very clear goals, and you have clear goals and you have good people, right? They should be able to manage things even while you're not there. And with the use of technology nowadays, you're
Wow.
spending so much time on video conference calls, and the only interesting thing is with having a lot of teams in Asia, it's usually a completely different time. So you might be getting up in the middle of the night to take phone calls and things like that. But that just becomes normal, when you're leading global teams.
Wow, that's very interesting. I really admire that. So I'm wondering how you're able to do it, but I'm sure you can. Oh yeah, you are doing it well anyway.
Yeah, no, you get used to it. There are
Yeah.
a lot of people doing it out there. You just get used to it.
But I'm thinking, because obviously I know your sisters to be in the UK.
Yeah.
So you probably came in here, and I'm wondering, how was it when you first came in? I know you went straight to school, but how was it living here alone, or did you have someone you were living with?
Yeah, so my stepmom was actually living here, and my two younger sisters. And so that was helpful, but I think it was still because now we sort of have this bifurcated family where my older sisters are in the UK and my youngers are here in the US. Um, but so that was really helpful because having family, makes a world of difference. But I think like many others, when you move to a different country, there's a lot of adjustment that happens. I mean, there are a lot of things that, you know, sort of like growing up in Nigeria, there's certain things someone says, you know exactly what they mean. There's certain jokes that you only get because you've been in the environment. So obviously stepping into a completely different culture, it really throws you for a loop. but you find that gradually you just start to assimilate, you start to understand. And I think that's one thing that I've noticed with, maybe because it usually when I think of people not from the US, I think about Nigerians, those are the most I know. But I find that a lot of Nigerians do really well at that. We're able to go into another country, pick up very quickly, assimilate, and then use our educational background to, try and set us apart.
So will you say your Nigerian education actually helped you here when you
Yeah,
got?
I would definitely say it did. I would say where I came out of high school, especially in the math, when it comes to math, I think I was stronger than the average American student coming out of high school. So that was definitely helpful going into something in the sciences. The other thing is not so much just the education, but the way of life in Nigeria, where you you tend to have a broader world view of things, right? So also, that it's hard to measure that in the classroom, but it also positions you well, when you find yourself trying to make it in a society different from the one you grew up in.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm looking at younger, maybe a young guy just coming into the country, and because I know a few people get carried away, and all of that. So that's why I wanted you to mention that.
Yeah,
Because there you have, even if you had mom or you had younger ones, you still had to, with a different culture, you still have to program yourself,
yeah,
yeah, and ensure that you excel in whatever you do.
absolutely. No, I grew up in a family where there was very high expectations of us, right? And so wherever I went, I knew that I had to uh, live up to that expectation. And in all fairness, been given the upbringing that was you were very focused on your studies. But one of the things I realized is once I got to the US, you see a lot of kids here that even if they don't do well in school, they're going to be taken care of. I knew that was not the case for me, right? So I knew that I needed to work hard and just continue to persist. And, that's ultimately what I did. But you're right. Some people in the young age get very carried away. And, my advice would be, that's a very short period in your life compared to your whole life, right? So you might as well use it and be really focused and get ahead as far as you can. Because, if you start, a few inches behind someone, it's hard to catch up once the race of life takes off.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I like what you said. You said it's just a short time of your. I mean, it's very important you don't lose focus at that time. Yeah, because a lot can
absolutely,
go wrong from there.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you. I mean, one of the things in life is that life can be up and down.
Yeah,
Although you made it look like, okay, just went from here, just went from there, and then went there, and then do you have challenges?
I did. I definitely did. One of the things that I didn't really talk about was after I came to the United States, I joined the military. I joined through what's called the Army National Guard and got activated to active duty. And during that course of active duty, I actually ended up getting in a vehicle accident that was really bad. And so came very close to death, was in a coma for 5 days. But out of that, I actually sustained a brain injury. And so when I was recovering, I realized that doing the technology work was a lot harder for me. And so that was a pretty challenging time in life because you sort of have set this course in your life and in your professional background and you work in it, and then all of a sudden you have something that totally throws you off course. Now, you know, for me, I've grown up and continue to be pretty religious, and so that was one of the things that I was able to hold on to. But the other thing was it was another situation of being persistent, right? Because I had to go through physical and occupational therapy. But I just knew that if I kept working the therapy and I stayed focused, that I could get past it. So it's definitely like everyone else. You go through life, there different, ups and downs and things like that. That was probably that. If you said my biggest challenge in life, that was my biggest challenge in life, to be able to overcome that, and still feel like I'm living my life the way I want to.
Wow. Can you tell me a few thoughts that came through your mind at that time? Because, I mean, for you to have suffered brain injury, I mean, that's a big thing. So, what are some of the thoughts that came through your mind or that crossed your
Well,
mind?
yeah, I think in the early stages, things that were going through my head was, you know, eh, I'm done, right? It's like, how do you come back from this? I was struggling with some really basic things. But then as things progressed, I started sort of getting that sense of I can't just feel sorry for myself. And so then I start telling myself that, it doesn't matter what the doctors are saying, I have to beat the odds. I have to, they'll give me milestones, whether it was with walk-in or with cognitive tasks, and you try and beat those milestones, as you progress. So, when I beat one of the milestones, there's, the thought in my head becomes, see, you can do it. But then it could be the very next day where you're struggling with something and you very quickly become hard on yourself again. So, I try to remind myself when I'm going through challenging times now, especially when it's nothing compared to that. I was trying to remind myself that, look, if your body and your mind, are able to make it through that, they can make it through whatever you're going through now.
Wow,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Wow. I'm really touched by that,
Uh,
because, a lot of people say, for people, I was just listening to someone today, and the person was talking about how people tell themselves, if this happens to me, that's the end.
yeah,
You know, that's just the end. But to see someone fight and believe, it's very rare these days. People easily give up. So I'm glad to hear this. Thank you so much for this. I'm really, really glad. And yeah, we wake up every day believing God for the best. And when things happen, we should know that truly there's always a solution if we keep at it.
absolutely.
We keep at it. Wow, thank you so much. Yeah,
You're
so tell me something you've learned in life. Something.
Um, one of the things I've learned is it's great to make plans because it keeps you focused, but understand that those plans can get destroyed in a heartbeat, right? And that doesn't mean, because sometimes I think people, when their plans not working out, they think it means that they're not going to accomplish some of the things they want to accomplish. It may not be the thing, what you end up accomplishing may not be exactly what you had in mind. But if you stay focused, you will still accomplish things that will surprise you, right?
Mm,
So I would say, you have to be flexible with your plans. Use your plans as a way to motivate you, but not as a way to be rigid and say, this is exactly what's gonna the outcome in my life that I want. Because fact of the matter is, none of us can really control the outcome in life, right? So I think that's been a big learning for me.
wow. So do you have a bucket list?
Yes. uh, and it keeps changing. I mean, a lot of my bucket list has to do around traveling. I love to travel, right? So, it's about different places that I want to be. Australia was on it, and it, recently was able to get it there. And the other thing that I had on that list was to learn to scuba dive, which now I do. So I travel and scuba dive and things like that. So when I think about things, probably the only other main thing on my bucket list now that I want to make sure that I do is I want to live in a Caribbean island for. So I know Well, that's my goal. Once I'm done with the rat race of life, you'll probably find me on some small Caribbean island somewhere, just relaxing.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. Jamaica lived there for some time, for some years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she did, and yeah, she says it was nice.
I would
That's
say
nice.
it'd be nice to just eventually be somewhere where it's a much slower pace and you can focus on yourself and the things immediately around you, which I guess is one of the things that this pandemic has forced a lot of us to do.
Yeah, yes, very true. So, what are you most thankful for?
You know what? I think definitely I'm gonna have to say my family. I have two young girls and my wife, and you know, as you go through life, there are all these things you accomplish along the way, but I think family you're just simply blessed with, right? I don't feel like you ever earn family, right? You're just blessed with it. Um, and so, just the joy that that brings to my life, I think that definitely is the thing that I'm most thankful for.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, what would be your message to us?
I would say, I am, first of all, I'm thankful that you're doing this as a way to connect people back to the command days. But, if we look at just the discipline that we were taught in command, understand that that should be what continues to guide us in life, doing the right things, being disciplined, being able to persist. And I think once you do those things, life has its interesting twists and turns. But if you stay focused and persist, I think 9 times out of 10, what you get is a really good result, right? And regardless of where uh, any of us are, I think it's going to be important that we're able to find the things we can be thankful for around us, right? Because sometimes we get so busy trying to get somewhere that we never stop to realize the great things around us.
Well, thank you. So, what do you do for leisure? Because I think I should ask you that. You
Well,
seem to be a thinker. So,
my ultimate leisure activity is scuba diving, but I live in Minnesota, so I can only do that when I travel. But other than that, well, right now I'm just chasing my kids around a lot. I do golf. I'm not that good a golfer, but I golf a little bit. And then I just like being outdoors and enjoying the sun. So sometimes I'll go camp with friends and things like that. But really, just hanging up around friends and being social is probably one of the things I enjoy.
wow, thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you. This was excellent.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this and I really learned a lot. So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really inspired because your words were actually coming straight at me. They were actually for me. That's the way I'll
Wow.
put it. So yeah,
Excellent.
I really appreciate this.
No, I appreciate this. This has been really good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for watching. And Dan, thank you so much once again. Thank you for watching this and until my next guest. Bye for now.